Hey everyone, Geophysicist Stefan Burns here. There has been a notable increase in oarfish sightings around the world, specifically the Pacific Ring of Fire, where the majority of Earth's earthquake and volcanic activity is concentrated. Now, in last night's live stream, I talked about these two very large oarfish that washed up in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, exactly on the date of the Great Conjunction between Saturn and Neptune. We can see these oarfish right here, video by Monica with her permission. We see the first one there, and we see the second oarfish, very, very big. These are not tiny oarfish. Interesting that that planetary conjunction occurred in the constellation of Pisces, which is two fish, and well, here we have two fish washing ashore. And these aren't just any fish, these are known as Doomsday fish because these denizens of the deep, gentle giants, they typically do not come to the surface. If they do, from what I know, they die. And the idea, the theory is that they come to the surface when they are perturbed from the depths. And that could be because of there being pre-earthquake electromagnetic signals. A lot of the deep sea creatures, there's no light. They rely on other senses to get around and to hunt and to feed. And so when the magnetic field and the electric field starts going haywire down there, it really is chaotic to them, drives them up, they depressurize, and they don't make it. Well, that occurred on the 20th of February, 2026. So just less than a month ago, we had a ribbonfish sighting on December 30th, 2025, Monterey Bay. So that is about a month and a half before these two big oarfish. So ribbonfish is a close relative of the oarfish. There's not too many in that group. Well, it turns out that we just had an oarfish wash up in Vietnam, March 4th, 2026. So this now is really expanding out the reach of these oarfish sightings across the entire Pacific Ocean. Before last night, I just knew it was these two, really looking at this area as a zone of higher risk for there being perhaps a significant seismic event, because this legend of the Doomsday fish goes back hundreds of years, Japanese folklore, myth, built on hundreds of years of anecdotal observations of these deep sea fish washing up before significant earthquakes and tsunamis. Of course, Japan being home to many of those, and we saw time and time again in the 21st century these oarfish washing up before significant seismic events. For example, dozens washed up in Japan before the magnitude 9.1 Great Tohoku earthquake on March 11, 2011. That was what created the Fukushima disaster with that tsunami. We also saw tons of oarfish, doomsday fish, washing up before the magnitude 8.8 megaquake in 2025. They're washing up in May, June, and July, all across the world, but really concentrated pretty strongly in the Pacific Ocean and also the Indian Ocean. So they are well connected to strong earthquakes. We have a lot more data supporting that they are connected to these high magnitude events, and we just had more pop up. Here we can see the news release out of Vietnam. 2-meter oarfish washes up in Da Nang. And this was 2 meters, about 10 kilograms, so probably a juvenile, not a baby, but a juvenile, washed up at the tourist beaches there along the coast of On High Ward earlier in the day. So this was, they say, specifically washed up on Wednesday, and that is March 4th. So just a couple days ago, this 2-meter oarfish washed up in Vietnam. Back on the 20th of February, we had the two big ones that washed up. And then if we go to the 30th of December, we had this ribbonfish pop up. So this was in Monterey Bay. Here is the ribbonfish. So this is just a baby. They start off small, they get huge, okay? So this isn't a full-grown one, but still, you're not gonna see this at the surface. They don't live there. And it's unknown whether this baby oarfish here, ribbonfish, survived. But you can see it's very closely related to an oarfish in terms of how they look. Here we can see another example of what an oarfish looks like. So they're very closely related. They have very similar feeding patterns, depth, lifestyles, biology, etc. And this was in Monterey Bay, California on the 30th. So this is very similar to what occurred last year, 2025. Let's look at the news here. So we can just go to Google, type in Doomsday Fish news, and we see our most recent news here reporting on the one in Cabo San Lucas. All right. And then we see Monterey Bay here, reports from January, of course, right? Then we see some reports here from October saying Doomsday Fish caught in India, I believe. So this is Tamil, yeah, Indian coast. This was the 7th of October. Well, guess what? We had 2 high magnitude 7 earthquakes in October, specifically on the 10th. We had a magnitude 7.4 that struck the Philippines on the 10th of October and a magnitude 7.6 earthquake that struck Drake Passage on the 10th of October last year. So just 3 days before, a doomsday fish washed up in India. And I'd say the Philippines is fairly close to India in the grand scheme, right? These sort of super high magnitude earthquakes are able to have effects across the globe, really, in terms of these electromagnetic signals. It seems we're not measuring these energies at depth. Like in the abyss, we don't have sensors down there, really. So we don't really know. But we are able to see, are these doomsday fish washing up? Now, if you go further back in time, page 2, we see that we had a bunch of doomsday fish washing up in June and July. So here's one in India there. You're going to see repeats, of course, as different websites cover the same thing. Sri Lanka. And if we go back here to earlier June, there was another one that was spotted in Tamil Nadu earlier in the year. You see that, June 19th. Well, we had the magnitude 8.8 megaquake that struck Kamchatka, Russia on the 29th of July. The 3rd strongest earthquake in the 21st century, only behind the magnitude 9 Great Sumatra earthquake in December 2004, and then the magnitude 9.1 Great Tohoku earthquake, March of 2011. So we see that there was, sighting surge globally of these doomsday fish back in May and June of 2025. Just look at how many articles are popping up. So I covered that extensively when that occurred. And now we are having a similar surge in sightings with December 30th, 2025, Monterey Bay, California, a baby ribbonfish. And then February 20th, 2026, we have these 2 oarfish wash up in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, and they are definitely adults. They're not as big as they can get. They can get really, really huge, but these are big oarfish. And now most recently, this oarfish washing up in Vietnam just a couple days ago. And so there is a window to these things. It's not just an oarfish washes up, the next day there's an earthquake. It's probably about a 2 to 3 month range. That's what it seems. And we're well within that right now. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. If you want to stay up to date on things that are happening with the Earth energetically, earthquakes, volcanoes, geomagnetic storms, severe weather, and more, then I am your guide. We also cover solar activity, space weather, cosmic and interstellar forces, so much more than that. I bring videos together almost daily for you. Smash that thumbs up button. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been your host, Stefan Burns. Have a great day.